You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.
This is exactly who the Chicago Bears should target in free agency to make the playoffs as soon as next season. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. As we all know, free agency is right around the corner with the new league year starting on March 13th. And after releasing both Cody Whitehair and Eddie Jackson, the Chicago Bears now sit at $68 million in cap space, which is third most in the National Football League. So Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears will definitely have a lot of money to spend to add to the Chicago Bears roster and make it a whole lot better. So Bears fans, on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I'm going to be going over some options that the Ryan Poles and Chicago Bears can look at to add to this Chicago Bears football team. And as always, as I'm going through these list of players, make sure you engage with me down below in the comment section and let me know some players that you think Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears should pursue when free agency opens up on March 13th. First things first, Bears fans, with the money that the Chicago Bears have just saved by releasing both Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair, the first thing Ryan Poles should do before signing any other free agents, and that is to retain cornerback Jaylen Johnson. He is only 24 years old, had 4 interceptions, which a couple of those were returned for pick sixes, and he also had 36 combined tackles as well. Jaylen Johnson is the corner of the future for the Chicago Bears. He's officially cornerback 1 for the Chicago Bears. He came up huge for the Chicago Bears this season. He is now the heart and soul and one of the leaders of the Chicago Bears defense. And to me, Jaylen Johnson should be a building block for the Chicago Bears football team and the Chicago Bears defense moving forward. So to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. Maybe Ryan Poles ends up franchise tagging Jaylen Johnson if they can't get a deal done, which I think Jaylen Johnson wouldn't be opposed to, because at the end of the day, when you franchise tag someone, it is guaranteed money. It's not like a long-term deal or anything, but it is guaranteed money for 1 year. But I hope Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears can get a deal done and retain Jaylen Johnson to make him a Chicago Bear for the unseeable future. Bears fans, now moving on to some free agents that I think Ryan Poles should target when free agency opens up on March 13th, which is the start of the new league year. And this may come by some surprise for some of you guys, and that is safety Antoine Winfield Jr. He is 25 years old, stands at 5'9", 203 pounds. Last season, he had 122 total tackles, 6 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and 3 interceptions. When you look at a guy like Antoine Winfield Jr., this guy is all over the place. He can play in the box. He can play free safety. This would be a huge swing for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. Obviously, we need a replacement for Eddie Jackson. And to me, Antoine Winfield Jr. would be a massive upgrade over Eddie Jackson. Don't get me wrong, Eddie Jackson was really good in his time in Chicago. Obviously, things haven't worked out the last couple of years in terms of injuries and all that stuff, and Eddie Jackson's time has basically just passed him by. But Antoine Winfield Jr. is a younger, obviously 25 years old. He is a guy that is very versatile. Once again, he can play in the box. He can play free safety as well. I think pairing him with a guy like Jaquan Brisker would be absolutely special on the back end of this defense. I think this would be a massive upgrade for not only the secondary, but the Chicago Bears defense in general. I know this would take a massive amount of money to bring Antoine Winfield Jr. to the Chicago Bears, but I definitely think it would be worth the price tag because this dude is an absolute game changer. Bears fans, the next guy on my list, and this is a guy that I would really love for Ryan Poles to keep a close eye on once the new league year opens up on March 13th, and that is edge rusher Bryce Huff. He is only 25 years old, stands at 6'3", 255 pounds. Last season, he had 29 total tackles and 10 sacks, and that was a breakout year for him. His pass rush win rate is something that really is eye-opening. When you look at his stats last season, he had a 22.8% pass rush win rate, which was third among all edge rushers in the National Football League. This is a guy that is going to continue to get better. He does have his struggles stopping the run, but to me, I'm looking at an edge rusher that's going to continue to get better. He's still very young. I think if you pair him with a guy like Montez Sweat, I think we could see special things on the Chicago Bears defensive line. And of course, you still have guys out there like Danielle Hunter. You have guys out there like Brian Burns as well. And those are obviously big options as well. But if you're going to sign a guy like Antoine Winfield, it's going to be really hard for the Chicago Bears to sign a guy like Antoine Winfield, re-sign Jaylen Johnson, and add a guy like Danielle Hunter or Brian Burns. Obviously, Danielle Hunter and Brian Burns are going to cost a whole lot of money to bring them to Chicago. Bryce Huff is not going to cost as much, but I truly feel like he can make the same type of impact on the Chicago Bears defensive line. I would love to see Bryce Huff in a Chicago Bears uniform. Bears fans, the next guy on my list, and this is definitely something that Ryan Poles has to address this offseason, that's the center position in Connor Williams. Connor Williams is 26 years old, stands at 6'5", 313 pounds. He did tear his ACL back in week 14, but let me tell you this, Bears fan. Prior to that, he was one of the best centers in the National Football League. In 497 offensive snaps played, 280 pass block snaps, and 217 run block snaps, he only gave up 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, and 6 total pressures, and he posted a 86.5 overall PFF grade. Prior to his injury, Connor Williams was one of the best in the National Football League. I think he will bounce right back from that ACL injury. I think I would take a risk on Connor Williams because we need help at the center position. We have to make sure we have a solid center. No more Lucas Patrick. No more revolving doors at the center position. We need a solid starting center, and Connor Williams would offer just that for the Chicago Bears offensive line. The final guy on my list, Bears fans, is wide receiver Curtis Samuel. He is only 27 years old, stands at 5'11" and 194 pounds. Last season, he had 62 catches for 613 yards and 4 touchdowns. In the last 2 seasons, he's had 126 catches, 1,269 yards, and 8 touchdowns as well. When you look at a guy like Curtis Samuel, I'm not asking him to come to Chicago and be wide receiver 2 behind DJ Moore. I'm asking him to come in and be a solid wide receiver 3 for the Chicago Bears offense. Maybe he can play a little bit in the slot. Maybe he can play a little bit on the outside. But when I look at a guy like Curtis Samuel, not only does he have a strong relationship with DJ Moore, so that would make for a seamless transition within the Chicago Bears offense when you have a relationship with a guy that's already on this team. But this is a guy that has consistent production. I love the consistency with him year in and year out. Having a guy as a wide receiver 3 that can get you 60 plus catches, 600 plus yards, and 4 plus touchdowns a year would be big time for the wide receiver 3 and something that the Chicago Bears desperately need in this wide receiver room. And trust me, the Chicago Bears do need a massive overhaul in their wide receiver room. Bears fans, some other notable free agents to point out, and free agents that Ryan Poles and Chicago Bears could definitely pull the trigger on as soon as March 13th when the new league year opens up, is edge rusher Danielle Hunter. He's 29 years old, 16 and a half sacks. Obviously, for me personally, looking at a guy like Danielle Hunter, this would be big time for the Chicago Bears. I know there's already been rumors out there saying that Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears are interested in bringing in a guy like Danielle Hunter. And truthfully, I would totally be fine with that. Can you imagine Montez Sweat and Danielle Hunter getting after the quarterback? The only thing about Danielle Hunter, he is 29 years old. He is coming off back-to-back pretty huge seasons. Last season, I believe he had 10 and a half sacks. This season, he had 16 and a half sacks. He is a menace that can consistently get in the backfield. He's a game wrecker. He's a game changer. But for me, I look at the age at 29 years old, and I look at the price tag that he's going to be wanting or demanding when free agency opens up. He's probably going to cost north of $20.5 million per year. So obviously, the Chicago Bears do have the money. I think this would be massive for the Chicago Bears defensive line, but I think it will cost a lot of money to bring him into Chicago. And once again, he is 29 years old. Another notable free agent for Ryan Poles and Chicago Bears to keep a close eye on is edge rusher Brian Burns. He is 25 years old and 8 sacks. There's another guy that I would love to see in a Chicago Bears uniform. Once again, he does have a relationship. He does have chemistry with a guy like DJ Moore from his time with the Carolina Panthers. So maybe DJ Moore will be doing some recruiting, saying, hey, Brian Burns, come over to Chicago. Come try to chase after the quarterback with Montez Sweat, which would be absolutely massive. This guy's only 25 years old and is already one of the best edge rushers in the National Football League. But once again, comparing him to a guy like Danielle Hunter, it's going to cost a massive amount of money to bring him here to Chicago. But Ryan Poles and Chicago Bears do have enough cap space to make this move. But personally, I chose to possibly go after Eddie Jackson's replacement in Antoine Winfield Jr., which either route you go, I feel like those all these guys are game records and game changers and would make the Chicago Bears defense a whole lot better. And 3 other options that Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears could pursue in free agency. It's also center Andre James, tight end Noah Fant. Obviously, Noah Fant has chemistry with Shane Waldron and knows how this offense operates, so he would be a plug-and-play guy alongside Cole Kmet. And obviously, guard Robert Hunt as well. If you're looking for a new starter at the guard position, and of course, Andre James, if you don't land a guy like Connor Williams, Andre James would be another solid option to come be an upgrade at their center position for the Chicago Bears offensive line. So Bears fans, overall, this is going to be a really fun offseason for the Chicago Bears. I do think Ryan Poles is going to be aggressive. I know he's not really big on spending a whole lot of money in free agency, but I think he will and he should be aggressive because we still do have a whole lot of holes to fill. But so I think he will make a couple of splashes, but I think either way, he will add guys that will make the Chicago Bears better right away. I'm hoping to see some big time signings. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see Antoine Winfield Jr. I would love to see Danielle Hunter or Brian Burns get signed to this Chicago Bears football team. But once again, we do have a whole lot of holes to fill. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of splash signings like back to back to back. We may see one or two big splash signings. We may see him re-sign Jaylen Johnson, and we may see him fill the holes with maybe 1 or 2 year deal free agents just to fill those holes, but also guys that can come in and make the Chicago Bears roster a whole lot better. But Bears fans, overall, how do you guys feel about the players I listed on today's episode of Keek on the Mic? And once again, if you were Ryan Poles and you were in his position as a Chicago Bears GM, what players would you pursue when free agency opens up on March 13th? Let me know down below in the comment section. But as always, make sure you continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. Better than that, be back for our all new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You've been listening to Keek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.